our hearts. God, we love you. It's in your name we pray. Amen. You can have a seat.
Thanks.
Well, good evening, everyone. It's so good to be here tonight. I'm Todd. This is Tami. I think you probably figured that out by now, huh? Well, as we get started tonight, we are so glad to have the opportunity to come back to our old stomping grounds. Yeah, I grew up east of Noblesville. I went to Hamilton Southeastern High School. Tami, she grew up in Carmel, and so all of my friends were wondering, how did you get to date a girl from Carmel? Because if you knew where I grew up, yeah. Anyway, I said, you got to go to church. That's how you meet a girl like that. Anyway, we're so glad that we can have the opportunity to come and share with you at this Stronger Marriage event. And so we're going to show you a real quick video. It's kind of the backdrop to the two of us. And so let's see if we can get to that. And this might explain a little bit about who we are, and then we'll tell you a little bit more. So here we go. This way. I'll click. Oh, I got to turn it on. That's always the first step in success.
Is my mic on? So there you go. There's us in a nutshell. And if you have any questions, that's where you go, is Todd Tami Family. Our YouTube channel, or we also have a .com. If you really want to get to know us.
People are always asking us, when are you guys going to get a reality show? So we just made a YouTube channel, and that's close enough. Yeah.
So our oldest daughter there is in the black tank top, standing right next to Todd, and then her husband is right on her other side.
He is a guy I look up to. Did you notice that? I'm telling you what.
And then they step down all the way down to Annalyn, and that's our baby, and she's 14 months old. So Todd and I, besides having 14 children, we started Love Ministries in 2016. We have 26 years of ministry under our belts. He has been a pastor, and I've been right alongside him the whole entire time. And we also have this other credential, and that is we are national speakers for Marriage Restored. And if you're not familiar with what Marriage Restored is, it is a weekend away for hurting couples. And it's national all around, and so we usually speak 4 times a year. COVID has lessened that a little bit.
Like everything.
But there is one thing that qualifies you to speak for Marriage Restored, and that is you have had to go through a crisis in your marriage. And so obviously, Todd and I have gone through a crisis in our marriage, but by God has brought us through and has healed us. And the song, "There's Nothing That God Can't Do," just rang
That was awesome.
so
what a
true.
great worship song this evening.
So true in our hearts today, because we truly do feel that God brought us out of that miry muck and into why we're here now, into starting this Love Ministries. And it's not because we've just because we've read and studied and figured all these things out, but we also went through it ourselves.
In other words, the school of hard knocks. Anybody been there?
Yeah.
Yeah, we've been there too. And so
if I think somebody, maybe Melody, the packets are back there, I think, at the booth. You guys will be getting a packet like this sent around to your tables, and there should be pens there in the middle that you guys can fill out. So you can kind of go along with us.
you can follow along in these packets, and inside the front cover there is a picture of Tami and I. And if you're into QR codes, they're really fast resource for jumping straight to websites and things. I kind of am in love with them. You'll see a bunch of them throughout the manual here, or whatever, the guide. And if you want to put your name on the this guide belongs to as you receive it, that might be helpful so that you don't end up walking home with somebody else's notes about their life and marriage. That might be awkward, right, to get home with somebody else's notes. And so, yeah, we'd love for you to do that. And then the pen that's there at your table, that's your pen. You get to keep it. And so, hey, freebies, that's always great. And we'd love for you to just be able to fill out some notes. But there on the inside, you'll see, again, a review of Tami and I and what she just mentioned about our life and ministry, and then a picture of our family, and maybe a quick QR code or a snap to the Facebook and all that good stuff where you can follow along. Maybe tonight will spark your interest to see what God does with the lives of Todd and Tami and family, and you can follow along and see where we go and be friends with us. All right. Well, as we get into tonight, have you ever met, I don't know, we've all met them, haven't we? Those couples that they just seem perfect. You ever met the perfect couple? At least people that come along. Let me see if I can get past this and move. I'm going the wrong direction. That's why that's bad for me.
There you go.
Yeah, but we've seen and all met and ran into some people who we kind of think they're like the perfect couple. They seem to have gone from good to great. They seem like they're people who just have amazing chemistry. They seem to have great kids and a great life and great, they're just these kinds of people that we envy, that we look up to. We wonder, how did they do it? They must have just struck gold when it comes to chemistry and connection and love and togetherness and just their life as they've built it. And so Tami and I, we've met people like this along the way. I can remember when I was a kid, for me, it was John and Evelyn Reesner. John and Evelyn Reesner were this amazing couple. I just continued to look at them, and I thought, they never, I'm sure, had a day in their lives where they disagreed. They just love each other so much. They take care of each other. John always opens the door for Evelyn. Evelyn's always talking so great about John. And then for me, I just looked up to them, and I thought, wow, these people are amazing. And I know for Tami, there was a couple named the Callas, as we were growing up. And the Callas, they were an amazing couple, Italian couple. So they always had great food at their house. Always laughing, always having fun. Sports car, I remember their sports car.
I always remember they were always in their hot tub together. And me as a child, I just thought, oh gosh, they just must be the perfect married couple. They're always in the hot tub together. I don't know. I don't know why I equated the two.
Sounds like a good marriage to me, always in the hot tub. Too hot. But yeah, we looked up to these people, and we just thought, wow, these people just have compatibility. They just ooze with it. I don't know about you, but do you have those people that are in your life who you just look at and you think, wow, they just look so good. They seem to have gone somehow from good to great, and really, you can't see much in between. They just good to great. How'd they do that? Must be compatible.
So when our marriage, was less than great, it was not stellar at all. We thought, well, I guess we just I don't know, maybe our luck was bad. I don't know, and we knew that we were a Christian couple. And so divorce really wasn't in our vocabulary. So we decided that we would just continue to live like this in less than mediocre kind of way. And it was really sad to us that we thought we were each other's soulmates, because that's what we grew up with. You find your soulmate, right? We thought we were each other's, quote, soulmate. And
because you see, we dated for 6 years, and those were blissful years. There was no weight on the relationship other than whatever we wanted to do and have fun. And we didn't have any children. We didn't have any responsibilities, no bills, no anything. And so anyway, but whatever, we're not sure exactly how it happened, but pain and misery got somehow placed among our wedding gifts, because we had our first fight on our honeymoon. And then throughout the next several years, things just kind of got wobbly and strange, and we just felt like we were in pain and misery. And because we were Christians who were dedicated to marriage, we thought, well, I guess this is just as good as it gets. And if this is just as good as it gets, I guess we're just always going to be living this way, and we'll just always be in envy of all those people who look like they went from good to great. They must have just gotten greater compatibility. But then we started seeing some of our friends get older and whatever, and they also had some marriages that were not so great, and we started watching how they started to, well, leave each other and go out and find new love again. But then as we watched a little bit closer, we realized they were going out and finding new love, but then they were finding themselves back in another cycle of misery. And some of them got into a pattern of doing that. New love, brokenness, out for new love again, brokenness, and that sort of thing. And so while we were together and living in misery, we decided at a certain point, and because of a crisis moment, which tonight's not going to be our night to tell you all about it, but you can believe us, it was terrible and not fun. In a crisis moment, though, we determined a couple of things. One, we're still not getting divorced, but we're not going to live like this any longer either. We want to go forward together. But we didn't quite know how to do it, and so we got into a place where we started to work together to reorient our lives in many ways. And what we found is that really there were some key things that we needed to do to have a healthy marriage, and we want to share a few of these things with you guys tonight. We can't do everything that we could tell you in one foul swoop and in one small setting like this, but there's a few things that we do want to share with you tonight. But the reason I share this slide up here is that I found what I thought might have looked like the perfect couple in the Bible. The perfect couple. It seemed to be right there in the New Testament. Their names are Priscilla and Aquila. They're so perfect, their names even rhyme. That's how well they fit together. Chemistry just seems to be there. And when you look at the verses that are there, you find that these are people that are in Corinth, and they're contemporaries of Paul. They even work with him. Paul sleeps on their couch. Paul works, and they work in the tent-making business with him. And it says there that they were there, and he, meaning Paul, met a Jew named Aquila and a native of Pontus, and who had recently come from Italy with his wife Priscilla, because Claudius had ordered all the Jews to leave Rome. So here they've been through some stuff, this couple, Priscilla and Aquila. They've had to leave, and now they've come to a new place to live. Paul has joined up with them, and they become tent makers together. So they've got like a tent business out on the mall, and they're doing that. But then as you continue to read the different verses where they're mentioned, and by the way, they're always mentioned together. You never find a verse where Priscilla's not mentioned with Aquila or vice versa, right? And they're mentioned together. And we also find that they even are in ministry. They don't only do tent making. They're the ones that are helping establish the early church. They're the ones that are working with Paul. Then Apollos comes through, and they even sit him down. He knows all this stuff, and he's teaching people about God, and he's got all of this message that he's bringing, but they know a little bit more, and they invite him in. Hey, come sit down for a few minutes, Apollos. We want to correct you a little bit, teach you a better understanding, some deeper things regarding Jesus. And anyway, and then out they go. Out Apollos goes, informed better because he meets Priscilla and Aquila. I mean, I'm telling you what, that couple looks so amazing to me. But here's what Tami and I have figured out.
So what we want to tell you is that is just a myth. That the perfect couple is really just a myth. And they didn't go from good to great without any mess in between. There is always some level of mess that we have to go through in every marriage. And all of those, quote, great couples that you see, it's the same thing with them. My Calla family, Jennifer and Tony, guess where they are right now? Divorced.
They were amazing, but they're divorced now. Now, John and Evelyn, they're together. And but John and Evelyn, if you went and you looked at these couples and any couple that you see that looks like they just went from good to great, you'll notice that every single one of them have gone through more than what maybe you see on the outside. And so the myth that, and if you're one who likes to take notes, you might want to grab your pen already, because the compatibility myth is this, that we need to find and marry someone who we are compatible with. We got to find them and marry them. But here is the bigger truth that we want you to chew on, swallow, get into your guts tonight, and that is this: compatibility is built, not found. Compatibility, my friends, is built, not found. Now, you might find a little bit of it. Tami and I are both from Midwest Indiana, whatever. We know, we grew up, we went to the same church. We've got those bits of compatibility, right? But I'm telling you what it takes to make it, what it takes to grow, what it takes to become, what it takes to really come alive as a couple. You don't just find it. My friends, you build it. Compatibility is built, not found. Y'all want to say it with me? Might as well. Say it with me as a chorus. Compatibility is built, not found.
So that's exactly what we're talking about with Priscilla and Aquila. They built their compatibility. We don't know, like...
There's not scripture. I can't peel it back. I can't say, okay, now turn to Corinthians, whatever, and show you all of the lines to that.
But their examples that they give us over and over and over tell us that they definitely built their compatibility.
That's had to be built. And the cool thing is as Anthony prayed earlier, he said, but it begins with Jesus. Priscilla and Aquila, their life, their tent making, their business, their work, their involvement in it was all because of Jesus. That was the thing, that was the glue in their relationship. And so I would love for you to, go ahead, seek out all those people who you think went from good to great and interview them. Talk with them, sit them down, say, how did you go from good to great? They'll all probably laugh. And they'll probably say, well, yeah, we didn't exactly post it all on Facebook, that we went through these things, that we had to actually sit down and work at this relationship, that we didn't just go from good to great. The compatibility that you see, that we enjoy, was built, not just found. And so we want you to embrace this tonight, that compatibility is built, not found. And we have found that there's a lot of things you can do to build compatibility in your relationship. But again, we don't got a lot of time. So hey, why don't we just give you a few things that we know are compatibility builders for your relationship? Because how many of you guys wouldn't mind being able to leave tonight with something to try on for size, something to think a new way to go, and to build greater compatibility? You might be a good couple right now, but how many of you think it'd be great to go from good to great? And some of you, by gosh, we know, some of you came in tonight going, actually, I don't know that we'd call ourselves good. We're struggling right now. Well, we're praying that tonight you'll get something that will help you to struggle less and move into good and on into great. So we're glad that you're here no matter what stage or place or position or station you feel like you're at.
So we want to get into 3 ways healthy couples relate, and we're just going to give them to you. You can write them all down. Then we're going to go back up and explain them all and kind of give you a reference of what we're talking about.
Yep.
So the first one is back to back. The second one is shoulder to shoulder. And the third one is face to face.
Now there in your participant guide, you'll see there's a nice block of blank. That's a good spot for you to just fill in some things as we talk here, and little nuggets of truth that stand out to you, things that you kind of want to, take note of, and maybe talk about a little bit with your spouse at some point after tonight.
So let's go back up to the first one. The first one is back to back. This is our time that we spend away from our spouse. And unfortunately, if you're probably like most United States couples and probably most around the world, they spend most of their time back to back. So this is a very important category in our minds. So you need to think biggest fan or I've got your back when you're thinking about back to back. This is when they go and do what they need to do, and you go what you need to do. But the key to doing back to back well is to know what they're going and doing, and you have told your spouse what you're going and doing. So you're not just off doing things on your own. So for instance, we kind of told you that we went through a crisis in our marriage, and so we're going to be talking a little bit about before and after, so we can kind of give you a reference of how we didn't do it so great and now how we're doing it a little bit better. So before our crisis, Todd and he would go off to work, and I would take care of all the children. I would go to the grocery store. I would take the kids to preschool. I would take kids to doctor's appointments. I would take kids to the library or play dates or MOPS dates, or I would run my MOPS. There were several places that we lived where I was running the MOPS. I was the coordinator of the MOPS. So I had all these hats trying to wear, and I would do all these things during the day. And Todd would get home, and he would tell me all about his day. And all about his day. And more about his day. And I would sit there and nod, and I thought I was being a good, loving wife to listen all about his day. And many days, he would have absolutely no clue of what I had done all day long.
Or what still needed to be done the rest of the day. And so I would come home, and I would tell her things that I did and how the committee took my idea and how it was great that I got to be there for so-and-so and, and whatever. And I would talk. And then I'd be like, yeah, and then just what's for dinner, whatever. We'd be eating, and I would never say, how was your day? What did you do today? I thought she'd be like me. If she wanted to tell me, I told her things, so if she really wanted to tell me about it, she'd just start telling me like I start telling her, right? Isn't that how it's supposed to work? And so I just didn't know. And honestly, I can admit I thought pretty simply about her day. She's a stay-at-home mom. Y'all didn't come with guns, did you, ladies? She's a stay-at-home. How hard can it be, right? She's going to do some laundry. She's going to get some groceries, and my underwear and socks are going to magically appear clean in my drawer. She probably didn't have anything to do with that or anything, right? And, there's just lots of things that I just thought I maybe already knew about her day. And so Tami and I's back-to-back experience was not a very supportive experience. It wasn't a very connected experience. It was not a very aware type of thing. Now, she had a pretty decent understanding of what I was doing all day long because I told her so much, because I'm a very open book. I just start talking, I tell her everything. I didn't have much clue about what she was doing all day long. In our old life, that's how we lived. And guess what? It was causing a lot of resentment to grow. I was resenting her because I was excited about the things I was doing, and I honestly wish she would join me in them more.
And I didn't really feel like I could give him very much support. As he was telling me, I felt like I was listening to him, telling me about his day, but I didn't feel like I could give him very much support while he was telling me, because I wasn't getting any support. He didn't know anything about my day, so I didn't feel just wonderfully open and giving and caring at that moment where I could just say, and how did that meeting make you feel? I can't believe they did that, I would just be like, okay, all right.
Yeah. So in the end, that's our old life. But in our new life, a couple of things that we did when we realized that we didn't, the consequences of how we were living and now how we want to live, we flipped a few things. We no longer use phrases about our life as his and hers. We started to talk about our day and our week because we realized that we really do want to live this thing out that the Bible keeps saying you can have, which is a one flesh relationship. And we started to say, well, then we need to change some of the ways we think about our relationship. And so you might even want to write this down, that your language, change your language to change your mindset. That's the point that I wanted to maybe ask you to write down there. Change your language to change your mindset. We stopped using his and her language and we started using ours. We also started to look at the week differently. Whereas before, we just lived the days as they came, kind of almost even in routine and on autopilot. We started sitting down on, like, let's say Saturday or Sunday, and we started to look at the week ahead. We started to talk about the facts about the week ahead. But then we went one level deeper. We started talking about the feelings that we were having about the facts. And then we also started to recognize there were ways that we could stay connected and offer our best in the way of support and relating throughout these days of ours, that we could live it differently than we had been before. And so we increased our points of communication. We increased our touch points. She might text me a few more times a day, and based on awareness, how did the meeting go? I might text, how did the doctor appointment go? In our old life, I didn't even know she had a doctor appointment, right? How is Stacy's, your best friend, how's that thing going with their family, whatever. All these different points. Tami might even stop by and do a few things for me. What's my favorite thing that you do?
One of the things that I learned, pretty quickly is Todd just loves when I come into his environment. And I don't know if you all have that ability, but I can go to his office whenever I want. And so a lot of times I'll just unpack the kids and I'll have them show up with his favorite, which is a McDonald's Coke or, a candy bar or whatever, just to let him know that we're thinking about him, we love him, and we just wanted to give you a quick hug and, a little gift.
And they're usually there for like 2 minutes and then they're on. But it's so cool to have them walk in and just, it's a touch point for our day, yeah.
So, like we were saying, Priscilla and Aquila, they appeared together in the Bible. And, maybe in that day and age, yes, of course, you got to work with your spouse, or if you're lucky enough that you get to work and be together. We don't have that, but we do have technology that brings us together. And so he decided that, I need to set an alarm on my phone to actually text my wife at such and such a day, because he gets so caught up in his work and just so busy that he even forgets to text me. But I feel so much better and so loved knowing that he just thought about me during the day, and he can.
When I had a
text.
secretary, I don't have one who works for me directly now, but when I did in one of the places where I worked and served, I actually I told her, I said, I need you to come in and ask me, have you talked to your wife today? It sounds so terrible, doesn't it? But that's how ingrained I would get into my work, that I could go all day long and realize I never even touched base with her even one time today. And I know that we are going to feel disconnected because of this. And so I would have her, I just said, you need to come in. And so she'd come in and say, have you talked to your wife today? I'm like, thank you. Stop everything and talk to her. Give her a call.
Do you want to flip back to that other slide?
Yeah, I'll go up one. So when you're living back to back, the best way, again, it's I have your back. I've got your back. And we're apart from one another, but we're living the same values and we're fighting for the same cause. And in going, you know that your spouse is supporting you, that they're thinking about you, maybe even praying for you, and that they've truly got your back. That they know what your coming and going is going to be about today.
So one last point, a full disconnect in this area, when you guys are truly back to back and fully disconnected from one another all day long, is going to be really hard to reconnect in the end of the day. It's just our nature. It's how most of us kind of are. And so we just make that kind of connection in your mind. Okay, the next one is shoulder to shoulder.
Yes.
This is intentionally alongside one another. In other words, you need to think friend or teammate. This is those times where if you're intentionally thinking about it, where you're, the best case scenario is where you guys would sit down together and say, okay, what do you like to do? What that I like to do? So Todd absolutely loves to play basketball, and one of his favorite things is that I just go with him and retrieve ball and even try to shoot hoops. I'm terrible at it, but even just try to shoot hoops with him and just be out there. And that's just shoulder to shoulder time for him. Once some of the silly things that I do is I have the app that, you send the game to him, and then, like, you're on, buddy, and he plays the game, and then he sends it back to me, and then I play it, and we play a game that way on our phones. Another shoulder to shoulder time that we like is we say, okay, we're going to go through this series together. We're going to watch it and do some discussing of it.
Like literally a TV series or something. And so we might go scroll through some of those, TV series program things and pick one that's, that we can watch and skip all the commercials and, enjoy that together, shoulder to shoulder. So it's working, we say working together. That could be, things like gardening or something, doing something around the house, planning a vacation.
Making dinner together, if you're truly doing it together.
It's the togetherness. If one of you is in the moment and you feel like you're not together, like it's just a task, then you've missed it. But if both of you are there and you're doing it together and you're talking and relating and being friends and teammates and enjoying each other's company, you're getting it. You're getting it. And so Tami and I, we tried the gardening thing, and it was a huge fail. And we thought the kids, we got 14 kids. You'd think they could work a garden. We could do this, right? It was a terrible idea. And now we have a big patch out in the backyard that honestly is an embarrassment to the whole neighborhood, what we tried to do out there. And anyway, but we tried. And so we just looked for ways to be shoulder to shoulder. We've got some clients, and maybe you heard us say that we coach and work with couples right out of our own home. People come and we work with them and try to help them on their marriages and things. We've got a set of clients who bike together.
No, think of Huffy, and then think like way further on down the road, like you can't even imagine. Is there any bikers in here?
Like, they invest so much money into it. It's
like
crazy.
There's apps that you ride this course on this app, and you are on the course with people
Thousands
all
of
around
other
the
people
world.
from around the world.
All around the world.
We didn't even know this world existed until we met these people.
And she'll come and say, I beat so-and-so off this course. And we're just like,
wow, okay.
We have absolutely no clue, but they are so invested in this. And this is their shoulder to shoulder.
We have another couple that loves to go on Disney cruises. Anybody in here like to go on cruises and stuff? They love to plan and then go on their Disney cruises, and they have so much shoulder to shoulder time planning their Disney cruises for them and their family. Sometimes this is nearness or presence, shoulder to shoulder time. So Tami and I have a pretty flexible way of doing the work that I do, and so sometimes I can work from home. And so sometimes I'm literally doing the work in the same room with Tami, and we do this to provide nearness and presence to one another, and we just get the shoulder-to-shoulder time. There's times when, I'm focused on my work, but at the same time, I can close that laptop for a minute and talk with her and enjoy what's going on and around with the kids and the whole thing. And so we just have found, and we look for ways to do shoulder-to-shoulder.
Another simple way
relating.
Is that, we have a lot of kids that are going different places, and a lot of times he'll just say, hey, you want to jump in the car with me? And, we'll put one of our older kids in charge, and we'll go get some hot box breadsticks on our way to go get.
Yes, hot box. I'm
to
such
go
a
get
fan.
one of the kids. It's just, it's our time. It's the time that we have, and so we take it and we make it perfect. And we love that. We love those times together, shoulder to shoulder. Where we got in trouble with this before was that he had loves, things to do that he liked to do that he would just go do and just leave me at home. Or like I had a lot of MOPS things, and so I would be intent in my MOPS girls, and I would just go and do. And there was way more going and doing by ourselves with our hobbies and our things that we loved than together. I mean, there can be that. Don't get me wrong. We want you to go have friends and be apart from your spouse at times. But when that outweighs what you do together, that's where the unhealthy balance is.
Yeah, and so I like this verse from Song of Solomon. It says, it's this moment where there's this bragging almost going on about this relationship, and the words come flowing out, "This is my lover. This is my friend." And I think everybody understands that this ought to be my lover, but do we also embrace that this is my friend? And we meet couples all the time who they struggle to live a good back-to-back experience, and their friendship is just really small or even gone. And that, of course, then affects this next level that we want to talk about.
Really quickly, before we move on, Todd and I get up and have coffee every morning together. And the way that I view that is literally just that, having coffee together. But the way he might view that is, hey, this is shoulder-to-shoulder time, right? Well, I don't feel in my heart and mind that it's true, good, intentional shoulder-to-shoulder time unless we're maybe discussing some things or having, a devotion together. But that's how I would define shoulder-to-shoulder time at that moment. But we're literally shoulder-to-shoulder because we're having coffee together. So we had to kind of come to grips with, okay, let's be intentional about this. Just because you feel like we're shoulder-to-shoulder physically doesn't mean that I feel satisfied with this shoulder-to-shoulder time. Is that making sense? Yeah.
Yeah, Tami, she's an organizer. So if you go down into our basement and then walk through and then to the back side, there is just rows and rows and rows of totes. Like, it looks like Tote World, down there. And like, we bought every tote that, has ever been made.
No, there's Huggies boxes.
Well, there's that too. But
Lots of diaper boxes.
We have invested in totes, lots of them. Anyway, and of course, when you got 14 kids, you're always rotating clothes, rotating whatever. And so she would say, would you please come down here? It's a new season, right? Every season we have to do this. And so for her, she thought that was good shoulder-to-shoulder time. For me, it's the most painful thing. I mean, and so but it has to be done 4 times a year. So we finally have figured out how to make it into shoulder-to-shoulder time. I'm enjoying it more and more, and because of what we can get out of it, and we're figuring it out how to make it better. But we put on music, and we just do some stuff to make the environment so much better of a connection environment for us than just holding things up and next year.
Okay, moving on.
All right, moving on. So here we go. Face to face. This is focused, communicating, and relating on a heart level. And this is, we want you to think in this realm about knowing your spouse deeply and intimately. And so for Tami and I thought we were doing pretty good at intimacy, because, and everybody did because we have 14 kids, right? But as after our crisis moment, I realized what I thought was intimacy really wasn't, and what I needed to work on was starting to communicate and relate with Tami on a heart level. I thought me just talking about things all the time was communication, and it was, but it was never on a real heart level. It was lots of facts, and it might be lots of feelings about lots of things, but I never was talking just with her about us, our dreams, our hopes, our aspirations, our desires, how she is getting into this heart and this mind, and knowing what she's going through and feeling and thinking. I just didn't really go there ever.
So face-to-face intimacy obviously does engulf our physical intimacy as a couple together, but it's definitely our relational intimacy as well. This is when we're sitting together and we're looking each other physically in the eyes and talking to each other. when Todd and I went through our crisis, we discovered somehow on the radio that somebody said that if couples talk 23 minutes a day,
on this level, on this heart level,
on a heart level, on an intimate level, they are. I think the percentage was 90 some percent more likely to stay together.
So we were like, and we were desperate for anything because we didn't have any good resources for what to do about our situation. So we were like, well, the DJ said 23 minutes a day, so let's just try it. So we went and started having 23 minutes a day of intimate, relating, face-to-face, trying to get to heart-level knowledge of one another. And it was sometimes easy and sometimes hard. And sometimes we were 23 minutes and we're like, it's over. And other times it was 2 hours had gone by. But anyway, the point
we had no clue how
Yeah.
much the littles, were taking away our time to really look at each other in the eyes. My eyes were always down. I always had my head down, caring for all the littles. And I would never look up to even look him in the eyes. And life just was going so fast. And I needed to, and we do every day, need to be able to stop and look our spouse in the eyes. Intimacy, into me, see. That's what we want you guys to think about intimacy. Into me, see. So it does encompass both the physical side of the relationship, but also the relationship side of intimacy. Where was I going to go? I had a point that I needed to say.
Oh, really? You're
Yes.
getting old.
I
didn't mean to say that.
Some people look at us and go, oh, I don't know what to talk to them about. Like, I have absolutely no clue. We already went through our day during the day. We already downloaded all that together. And when we go on Marriage Restored, we send 90 questions home with our couples. 90. They're supposed to do at least one a night, and it's just open-ended questions where they can talk about their feelings and share with each other. And the one couple that we talked about biking, they did their 90 questions, and then they went out and asked us for more questions because they felt like they were just such opening questions and just really, really helped their relationship. So really quickly, we have just a little book that is out there for sale for $5 of just some of those easy starter questions if you guys are really looking for something to enhance your face-to-face time with.
That would be a really great resource for you. So, what are the 3 ways that healthy couples relate? They have each other's back. They are in a back-to-back experience a lot of time in a given week. And so they know what each other's doing. They support one another. They care for one another. They have touch points with one another. They stop by. They do things to relate. They have shoulder-to-shoulder time. They are friends. They spend time together. They hang out together. They play together. They work together. They build together. They plan together. They laugh together. They watch shows together. They go out to eat places together, and they do that. But then they also have face-to-face time, including discussions on a heart level, but also intimate times physically, relating, kissing, hugging, sex, all these things. And so again, what were we saying? These couples that you look at who seem like they just went from good to great. They seem like they've got all this chemistry. They seem like they've always had it and they always will. No, if you peel back and you look inside their relationship, you'll find them doing these things. You'll find them living this way. You'll find that they are relating on all these 3 levels. And whether they're fully conscious of it or not, and would use these words to describe it, they probably wouldn't. But you'd find these things happening inside their relationships. And when we're saying to you that you can have a growing relationship, and when we're saying that you can go and have a stronger marriage, these are the things that we think if you even started focus on even this week and had some time to really reflect on and think about how is it that we're doing in all of these areas. And so on that next page, we want to give you kind of an assessment tool.
So as Todd said, we're coaches. So what do coaches do? Tell you to get out of your comfort zone and do something new, right? That you haven't done before. So this is an assessment. So we're going to give you some homework. We do all of our clients. Sorry, it's just how we are. So the circle number 1. and I'm going to try to explain this to you guys. And you don't have to do this at this moment unless you want to. That's fine. So circle number 1, you need to split your pie 3 ways into how you think your time is spent within a week. So let's pretend you spend 50% of your pie back to back, 25 of your pie face to face, and 25 of your pie shoulder to shoulder. I don't know anybody that does that, but I just, So draw it out, percent it out, and then what I want you to do is share it with your spouse. Just an overall view of what you think. Don't talk it over with your spouse first. Tell your spouse to do it, and then you do it, and then talk it over. They just need to see how you perceive your week. That's all that first circle is to do. Just how your spouse perceives their week. And then you guys will talk about it. What were you thinking when we were back to back? Well, I define back to back as the second you walk out the door until the second you walk home. I don't know, however your definition of back to back is for your family, that just percentage it out. And then the second circle, it's already pied out. It's not in your percentages of how you guys spend your time. But what we want you to do is rate your satisfaction level of your back-to-back time. Rate your satisfaction level of your shoulder-to-shoulder time. And rate your satisfaction level of your face-to-face time. So let's say I rated my satisfaction level of our face-to-face time as a 5. And Todd rates his satisfaction level of our face-to-face time as a 7. And so I would say, okay, Todd, what were you thinking about?
Not what were you thinking? No, it's what were you thinking about when you were considering what goes into that category and why you feel satisfied or dissatisfied? What thoughts did you have?
Well, my definition of it that week might have been, we didn't really get very much time to sit down face to face, and I didn't feel like we had very good discussion together, heart discussion. And he might say, well, we did get to have sex a couple times this week, and so I rated it at a 7. And so that's kind of what went into his rating. And so it doesn't matter what goes into your rating or goes into his rating. That's fine. That's just how they saw the category. But then what the next question is to say is, he would say, Tami, well, how could I make your satisfaction level go up to a 6 next week? And I'd say, I'd really like us to stick to our pattern of coffee and devotions together and talking on a heart level at that time. He's like, okay, I'll recommit to that this week, and that will raise your satisfaction of our face-to-face time. And that's all you simply do. You don't make somebody's satisfaction level go from a 5 to a 10. You just raise it a little bit, and you try to grow each week on how to make them a little bit more satisfied with your time together.
Yeah, and so Tami and I, we began working on this after our crisis, like I said, and we began to realize that there were little adjustments that we could make, that we could be, our satisfaction going up a notch feels pretty good. Everybody wants to be at a 10, and we get that. But even just small changes in the right direction, we were so happy with each other that we were making those efforts to do small changes in the right direction, and then over time just continue to make the small changes in the right direction. We found ourselves raising and helping each other raise the satisfaction level that we had in each of these categories. And now, because we, again, spend a little bit of time each week flying over the week and looking at it in such a way that we are very aware of what is coming and what is happening, and how we not only the facts but the feelings, we then can start to make adjustments to the week. I can look into the week and I can see that Thursday is going to be really heavy for her, and I can make a couple choices about it. I can say Thursday is going to be really heavy for her. I'm going to have to support her better on Thursday. It would be good if I did a few things, got gas in her car. So there's just nothing else extra she's going to have to do. It's already a heavy day. Or I could say, why does Thursday have to be so heavy? is there anything we can do to change Thursday at all to make it less heavy? Maybe we just haven't held that up to the light yet together and made some choices about how to live Thursday or any other differently, so that it doesn't have to be the way it is. But we didn't live that way in the past. We just let life live us, and we were just trying to keep it together. And so what you find is that each one of these categories meets the other or has an effect on the other. What I just described to you, what's coming and how do you feel about it? That was actually a face-to-face conversation that affected our back-to-back reality, right? And because we had our back-to-back or face-to-face conversation, we also found the time when we were going to do some shoulder-to-shoulder things. And we protected that time so that we could do those things together.
And because he didn't have to come home and make a full reconnect when he got home from work, because he had been connected to me all day long, it was easy to jump into, hey, let's have fun together, right? Because I wasn't so disconnected from him, and he didn't have to catch up with all the 100 things that I had already done that day.
And
do you see how each category affects the other one?
Right.
2 commodities, the very end there. You must learn to manage as a couple are... Do we have a slide on that?
I think we actually do.
I didn't get that.
Oh.
Could you try again?
Sarah didn't get that.
That's awesome. There they are. Time and
energy.
Yeah. This is...
So if I say to Todd, hey, I want to have coffee in the morning and have some face-to-face time, well, is that possible? Can we get up early enough? Do we have the energy to do that because we've gone to bed at a good time to get up that early to get that done? Do we even have the time for that? Is it even remotely possible because we have to get up so early? So you need to think about each of these commodities, time and energy, as you're going through how you can change things and make things different.
Yeah, you've all been there, haven't you? You have the time but no energy. You ever been there? That's a terrible feeling. Oh, I've got the time to finally... I have no energy for this, though. Or, I've got the energy. We don't have any time. So you have to manage the time. We have to manage our energy. And these things are not easy to do. But again, this is why... So I want you to also write down on your paper. I didn't make a space for this. But you all probably know right now, in your minds and in your heart, where is that moment that you think you might be able to have your flyover, your week conversation with your spouse? Where do you think that is? Is that Sunday afternoon? Is that Saturday night? Write that down. I want you to kind of score that somewhere. When do you think? And I'm not talking hours long conversation. This is a fly over the calendar, right? This is a look at the week ahead. Do you think it's Sunday afternoon, wherever it is? And then I want you to present that also to your spouse, because that face-to-face moment, talking about your week, what's coming up and how do we feel about it, affects how you're going to be able to roll on this roundabout of things here, back-to-back, shoulder-to-shoulder, and face-to-face time together. And you'll be able to figure out how you're going to manage both your time and your energy. Okay. Any country music fans in the room tonight? No, not at all.
Couple.
I don't know what's wrong with me. I actually like country music quite a bit for some reason. And so I was goofing around on one of those feeds where it just throws you new artists and old songs and whatever else. And so I was doing that a few weeks ago. And I came across this song that I thought was good for restating what it is that we've been saying to you all night long. And so the QR code that is on that last page is to a song by this guy named Spencer Crandall. Now here's the thing. I don't know anything about Spencer Crandall. He may be the most worst person in the world. So I'm just giving you one song, and I don't want you to go buy all of his albums and get his t-shirts and go to his concert necessarily. But this one song spoke to me. And the song says, soulmates aren't found, they're made. And it's the point that we've been trying to drive a little bit tonight, is that compatibility is not found, it's made. You build it. You get some of it, but a lot of it is what you build together. And so we want to encourage you tonight, maybe as you're driving home, to either snap that QR code and let that song play in the car radio and see what it is that spoke to me through this country song. And by the way, when I was growing up and in Bible college, I had a professor say, all truth is God's truth wherever you find it, even if it comes out of the mouth of a donkey, whatever. If it's true, God owns it. That's kind of how I felt when I heard this song. I'm like, I don't know who Spencer Crandall is, and I don't know what else he sings about, but I know right here he seems to have nailed it. Soulmates aren't found, they're made. They're made. And Tami and I have figured that out. We are working every day to build our compatibility. And by God's grace, I think he's turning us into John and Evelyn. I think that we're becoming that hopefully old couple who, when everybody looks at them, they think they must have went from good to great. And of course, if those people will come and sit with us a little closer, they'll hear a story of pain and mistakes, sinfulness, and reclaim, and coming back and working hard to become made. And here's the thing: if you want to figure out what all this is aiming toward, Paul said it really well in Ephesians 5. He says, here in Ephesians 5, he says, you think I'm talking about marriages, but I'm really talking about Christ and the church. He says, when people look at you, they see Christ and the church. And so that's what the Lord has been doing in our lives. He's been showing us how to reflect Christ and the church in this relationship, and we have been succeeding and more succeeding by working very hard at becoming the people we think that God is calling us to be. And so
So a few things before we have Todd close in prayer. If you guys want a conversation starter book, it's out there on the table. We'll help you with that. We also have marriage restored cards. If you guys are in a crisis or know of a couple in a crisis, have them check out marriagerestored.com. And it will literally change their lives. We see miracles happen on these weekends every single time we go. God shows up in tremendous way on these weekends. We also have some rack cards out there that tell you a little bit more about our online coaching and our person-to-person. We do couple-to-couple coaching, which is not a huge thing in this area and around, where you get both of us and we sit down with both of you and coach you through your marriage. And then the other rack card that we have is talking about our speaking engagements. If you know of somebody or some other church that would like to have us in, you can grab one of those too.
Mm-hmm. All right. So like I said, there's so much we wish we could spend time telling you about, but we gave you at least something to try on for size here and to go home and kind of do some assessing. And our prayer is that you will build greater compatibility for a stronger marriage. So let's pray together. Father, I just want to thank you for the opportunity that we've had tonight to have great food, great worship moment together. And I thank you for the opportunity that Tami and I have had to challenge these couples toward a stronger marriage by really assessing how they're doing in these three key areas healthy couples are meant to relate. We thank you that we can look into scriptures. We can see lots of examples of marriages, people who messed it up, and then people like Priscilla and Aquila who I think got it right. And they had you at the center of their relationship, it appears. And Lord, we know that that's probably a huge key for us tonight, that we can work hard, but really what we need mostly in our lives and in our marriage is you, and then your help in doing the things that we talked about here tonight. Lord, I pray that these couples tonight will truly assess, but not just assess and find where they are on the map, but decide together where they want to go and who you would have them to be as a couple. God, I thank you that Tami and I, that you didn't just take us to a place of wholeness, but instead you took us beyond that to a place of vision for who we are as a couple and where we're leading our crazy family. Amen.
So yeah, I thought we'd just like kick you out of here. I want to say that we appreciate you guys coming, and it's been a blessing. So I want to give away one of these books here. We'll draw one more. Hope I win.
Yeah.
All right, here we go. Amanda Love. We don't deliver. Come on. But you do have great hair. You can have it. Thank you. Hey, a couple things real quick before we dismiss you guys. We're reminded that back at the photo booth, that iPad will take your picture, put your email in, it'll send it to you, you can use your own phone, and then we get a copy of it too, right? So it's extra special sometimes.
I turned it off.
Do that. And the other thing is, if you are able to help at all, we'd love to get these tables and stuff down to the other end of the building. Some of you can't. I get that. You got childcare, extra date, whatever, QR codes to scan, whatever you got to do, face-to-face time. You got those things to do, I know. But if you can, we'd love to have the help. So anything else I need to tell them? That's it. We'll see you Sunday at 10 a.m.